Our next panelist is Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas is an assistant professor of communication studies at Alabama State University. She earned her PhD in communication from George, George Mason University, her MS in international and multicultural education from Florida State University, and her BA in communication from Alabama State University. Dr. Thomas is a proud third generation ASU Hornet. She has 4 years of experience with investing and trading, including cryptocurrency, foreign currency, binary options, and stock options. Her goal is to continue learning more about blockchain and financial technology to help increase awareness and to support continued leadership in innovation at her beloved alma mater. Uh, Please, Dr. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Zuniga. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Good morning, everyone. My name, as he stated, is Ashley Thomas, and I'm an assistant professor of communication studies at the Alabama State University. And I'm truly honored to be here today to talk about our ASU blockchain think tank, which was funded through the innovation grant sponsored by Morgan State University and their Center for the Study of Blockchain and Financial Technology. Before we begin, I had a quick question that I want everyone to think about, and that is, when's a time that you had a project, an activity, or a program that you had in mind and you had mapped out all the plans, but it just did not go as you had in mind? That's what we experienced behind the scenes with the blockchain think tank. But how many know that just because something doesn't go as planned doesn't mean it wasn't effective and possibly better than you could have imagined? So today, I would love to talk to you about the importance of effective communication when raising awareness of blockchain and fintech on your campus. Today, we'll identify important communication principles to apply during project implementation, as well as recognizing the impact of communication has spreading awareness of technical subjects. So we'll talk about the inception and synergy needed for this particular project, as well as a theory that we use to help us move along, the person decision, as well as challenges we overcome, and key takeaways that helped us to move forward. The main key that we had was interdisciplinary collaboration. So I teach in the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, but my co-PI, Dr. Cadavius Jones, is from the STEM branch. And so while it may seem like it would make sense for the one who's in the sciences or technology to focus on blockchain and financial technology, we wanted to lead with the liberal arts and social sciences so that we could have students feel more comfortable and not as intimidated about the technical aspect of whatever program we decided to move forward with. A key unit on campus that helped us was the Office of Institutional Wellness. So not only did they help with evaluation, but they also helped us identify different areas on campus that could help us get the job done. So Dr. Christine Thomas, who's our Associate VP for Institutional Effectiveness, had a great idea to have an advisory committee, because we know on campus, whenever we want people to embrace an idea, it takes that synergy. And so our advisory committee had 14 members, and at any given meeting, had 80 or more attend. And we had individuals from English, art, digital media, mathematics, communications, orientation, and applied technology, as well as our staff and administrators had experience with marketing and communication to help us to get the word out. We had members of our quality enhancement plan who were able to reach first-year students, and our director of career services, as well as our SGA president, were on this advisory committee as well. We even had, through our social media reach, alumni volunteers to share with us that they would like to contribute their knowledge, and one of them served as a guest speaker. So through the experience and skill sets of our advisory committee, we were able to have flyers created, as well as a website where students could go to apply for the think tank. And our winners, or those who were accepted, were able to find out by going to our website and seeing their picture updated on the screen. So there was a particular theory that we had in mind because we wanted to include students from various levels of experience. And so we decided to use the diffusion innovation model, which focuses on how technology, inventions, and new ideas spread throughout society. So first you have the innovators, and these are the risk takers and the first ones willing to adopt without needing much convincing. So while we have students on campus who already were adopting ideas about blockchain and fintech, we wanted to move them to a higher level of creating ideas of their own. Next, you have early adopters, and these are our opinion leaders who don't need much convincing either, but glossaries of terms and infographics help move them to being an innovator. Then we have the early majority. Now, these may not be considered leaders, but they are quicker than the average person to adopt new innovations. So for this group, research indicates that success stories are more likely to draw them in. Then we have the late majority, and these are the individuals who are more skeptical about considering adoption until the majority have already adopted it. So in order to accelerate adoption, using examples from their peers would help. And lastly, we have the group known as the laggards, and those are skeptical, but that's due to their traditional and conservative nature. But according to Lamort in 2019, strategies that appeal to this population include statistics and pressure from people in other adopter groups. What bring all these groups together and move them along through the adoption process and having a think tank. So the purpose of this think tank was to move our students' awareness from just simply knowing about cryptocurrencies to understanding the developmental process and the background knowledge of blockchain and fintech, so that we could promote leadership not only on campus, but also in the community and nationwide. For example, one of our very own think tankers, Mr. Kenneth Allred, is here, and he'll be in the expo booth sharing his experience with the blockchain think tank. And so we wanted to solve relevant problems regarding economic inequities and how to help the community, as well as encourage more discussions about blockchain and fintech with their spheres of influence. We decided, although ASU has more than 3,000 students, to narrow it down to 30 student participants in the think tank. We had 35 applicants and selected 30 to start as like a nucleus on campus. And once that happened, it would create a ripple effect that would spread throughout campus. We had undergraduate and graduate students, students from all classifications, majors ranging from elementary education to finance, and levels of knowledge and experience from none at all the way to students who had mined cryptocurrency before. We originally wanted them to create a blockchain and cryptocurrency token model for ASU, or an NFT model, but we realized that was a lot to ask for our students who, as we stated, had no experience at all. So we decided to take a more exploratory approach and allow them to answer more hypothetical questions. And so what we did, we set the modules up on Blackboard, a platform they were already familiar with, and we had an overview that had those glossary of terms that we mentioned, a pre-module quiz so that they could assess their current knowledge, as well as infographics, and Dr. Jones created amazing PowerPoint presentations, and I added videos that were relevant to help students understand in a simple way. And then we have the post-module quiz so they can see what they learned, as well as discussion posts. And these posts range from pretty broad to what are meaningful ways that local businesses surrounding ASU can adopt these business models and trends of fintech, all the way to more specific examples, such as how can awareness of consensus protocols and the structures of blocks help build confidence in the ASU population and other minority communities. We also had our students to discuss in terms of smart contracts as it relates to scholarships on campus and alumni giving. There's a hustle fair on campus that's like a marketplace, and how could we use tokens instead of just the fintech that we currently use, Cash App, in order to embrace blockchain and financial technology. We even discussed ideas that they have for internship opportunities for these mom and pop businesses who might be interested in adopting fintech. So the sessions that are in bold were our live Zoom sessions, and those that are not bold were our asynchronous discussion board posts, because we did not want to overwhelm our students. The virtual orientation session, we laid out our expectations, how to navigate the learning management system, any questions that they have. And we wanted to start out the gate with why learn about fintech and blockchain technology. Now, a lot of times when we think about why students should learn about a particular thing, we default to how does it benefit your career or major? But in the application process, we really wanted students to focus on how does it benefit you at all? And we had students who shared, I can talk about this with my parents and my friends. I want to build generational wealth. I just don't want to work a job the rest of my life. And so these are examples of ways that students really value. They also mentioned interdisciplinary collaboration as well. And so we moved on eventually to get into more aspects like blockchain development, because we didn't want to assume that just because a student is a non-technical major, that they would not care about this aspect as well, especially if they want to invest in this kind of technology. We even discussed socioeconomic impact, such as ethics and justice and environmental responsibility as well. There are definitely some challenges that I want to discuss. So we have the external challenge of time constraint, because the grant period was June through November. And so that indicated that affected how we went through the process. And then you have the internal time constraints, such as deadlines for requisitions in the procurement process, as well as we had to promote the think tank during the time between summer school and when the fall semester started. And that was a challenge because everyone was on break. So we decided to push back the start time for more recruitment. And we've all experienced the effects of COVID-19 and how we've had to use technology to overcome those challenges. So like I said, we had our sessions virtually, but the challenge with that was some students would join the call, participate, just show their, or they would show, or they wouldn't speak at all. And so we wanted to increase engagement. And so one student noticed it, and they had an idea to come up with a student-run, student-only group me. And this was good because it allowed a space without instructors snooping and seeing what they're doing to develop ideas for the think tank, as well as to discuss next steps moving forward. So in terms of logistics, we originally wanted to hold the think tank in those same modules that the think tankers were going through. We wanted the rest of the ASU community to experience as well. But we realized that was a lot to do at one time. So we decided to have the think tank first and use the academy as next step for dispersing that information across campus. So like I said, to create a ripple effect. There were two additional challenges that we experienced, and that was multiple blockchain projects on campus. Now that's a good problem to have, but we had to figure out how can projects support one another rather than compete. So if this ever happens on your campus, don't be alarmed, but think about which project or event is most foundational, especially as it relates to Bloom's taxonomy. So does this particular project deal more with just exposing students to the information, or does it deal more with evaluation and creation levels that are higher order thinking? And so using one to support the other. Or you may realize that they're reaching totally different target audiences in the student population. And so they can take place simultaneously. And so lastly, student engagement was a challenge as well. We had to remind ourselves that this is not a course, and we wanted to reassure our students that we understood this is an extracurricular activity for them. So if I had to do it all over again, I would have started the first module much more simply and eased them in, because I put quite a few articles and videos in that first one, and that could have alarmed students because it actually got simpler as we go along. One thing that was effective were weekly satisfaction polls. Our students expressed 100% said they were either very satisfied or satisfied with the think tank and the modules. And so just allowing students to take initiative with that student-run group me and express themselves freely opened up opportunities for us to receive feedback and move forward. So going back to the beginning, how do we identify these important communication principles? First is the principle of clarity, setting expectations early on. So during our first meeting, while we shared, hey, as think tankers, we would love for you all to participate, we didn't fully identify what participation meant in their mind. Participation could have meant I'm here attending and listening. So making it very clear and getting that feedback early on to make sure you're on the same page, as well as identifying processes and procedures, such as when it relates to your budget or deadlines and timelines, so that you can make sure you're on track. The principle of feedback is important, and I'm grateful that we had our satisfaction polls in our monthly meetings with the advisory committee so that we could determine how to take next steps, how to course correct. I do want to make a point about not underestimating what your volunteers can bring to the table. We had some members of our advisory committee who had experience or background with NFTs and blockchain technology, but just due to their schedule, they were not able to participate as much as they would have liked. But we had our QE coordinator who doesn't have as much experience as she wants right now, but she had access to 900 first-time freshmen who she could expose them to blockchain and financial technology and awareness of the think tank. So the principle of consistency is to pace ourselves. Once we realized we didn't have to have the modules and the think tank occurring at the same time, we were able to realize in terms of long-term effect, it was okay to have one that created the ripple effect for other aspects. But the key point that if you really believe that blockchain and fintech are not just a techie or a business thing, then our program should definitely send that message out. And so that's why we were so intentional about having an equal number of students from all those various levels of experience and background. Creating space for informal approach so students are not intimidated about blockchain and financial technology, and the principle of adequacy, making sure you don't just talk about support and collaboration, but you identify the actual resources that are available to get the job done. And I know for a fact, I would not have been able to see this project through if it were not for that collaboration and synergy. So we would love for you to connect with us. We are not done. Our students they're in the process of developing a blockchain and fintech club. And two of our committee members were gracious enough to agree to serve as advisors. So you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at ASU Blockchain. That's the best way to access our website while we're doing some renovations to those platforms in transition to the club. And I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And here's my email. I am having questions at the end of this segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for sharing insight on how to promote blockchain and fintech in an academic context. So thank you very much for that. Dr. Wolfson is our next panelist. Dr. Wolfson is an economics professor at Xavier University of Louisiana and a lifelong resident of New Orleans, Louisiana. In 2018, Dr. Wolfson began teaching the course Blockchain, Cryptocurrency, and Society as an elective in the university core curriculum. The goal of the course is to survey underlying blockchain technology, explore digital currencies in the context of traditional economic theory, and investigate the potential applications and societal impacts of this emerging technology. His published research in the cryptocurrency area includes 2015 manuscript titled Bitcoin, the Early Market in the Journal of Business and Economic Research. Please, Dr. Wolfson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm very pleased to be here, and I want to give thanks again to the people at Morgan State and the FinTech Innovation Center for allowing us to pursue this project, which was very fulfilling, and I hope you find interesting. I just want to make sure that my screen is being shared. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. We decided to do this through the Entrepreneurship Institute at Xavier University. Professor Mark Quinn runs that. He's our Hilton Endowed professor, and I'm kind of helping him out with crypto initiatives. You can see our first goal was to get a logo for our project here. So we went with the unicorn, which has its roots in kind of the Ethereum ecosystem, and we put our own little spin on it. This project had some seemingly simple goals, but as Ashley talked about, sometimes simple can become complicated. We wanted to create a campus token that the students could use. We wanted to see if that token would increase their engagement, if we could sort of get them to do things with the token, and then ultimately take a survey. And as an economist, one of the goals I didn't put up here was I wanted to try and get as much of the Morgan State grant out there to our students in terms of cryptocurrency, which meant I had to talk to the university about cryptocurrency. And as those of you who know who teach this kind of stuff, they look at you like you're crazy. So the token itself, we actually had to think quite a bit about this. And the reason being that if you've been in the space long enough, and when I started teaching my class in 2018, I think I had 2 students. It is now a couple of years later, it's oversubscribed. I have to sort of turn students away now. But cryptocurrency historically has not been kind of an easy thing to get into. Back in the early days of Bitcoin, there was a lot of talk about securing your private key, putting it in a encrypted vault, putting it in a safe, writing down some secret words, or making sure they were in a fire retardant pouch, that kind of stuff. We had to make the project easy to kind of comprehend. So we had to find a platform in which to do that. The other thing is, if you spend any time with Bitcoin or maybe Ethereum, is you've got to wait kind of for the blockchain to catch up on your transactions, which can, if you want to go spend Bitcoin somewhere and you've got to wait 10 minutes for a block to confirm your transaction, that's not sort of going to be helpful. So we needed to find a way to make transactions fairly quick. And the other thing is, we needed the transactions to be affordable. If you have done anything on the Ethereum network, for instance, when things get kind of busy, it gets super expensive to kind of do a transaction. My experience previously had been with my class. I got them to issue their own tokens, but we used the Ethereum network and their test network, when things were kind of slow and easier to use. And now it's cost prohibitive to do that. So we had to kind of figure out a way to do that. And as those of you know who are in the space, when we talk about blockchains, we talk about these trade-offs between security and how fast transactions can occur. There's a definite trade-off there, and we had to find a way to kind of make this happen. I don't have a degree in computer science. I know nothing about coding. So we just kind of had to figure out a way to do it. And it turned out that we used this a GitHub repository. There was a burner wallet that was created for an Ethereum event in 2019, and the project has sustained itself. And it's currently on this network called the XDAI network. Anybody who's familiar knows the DAI network is kind of a dollar stable coin. This is kind of the idea is that the XDAI coin is pegged to be worth $1. This particular network, there are trade-offs. There isn't a global network of validators here. There's a select number of validators. It's ultimately changing, but in that sense, it could be less secure than, say, Ethereum or one of the other blockchains, but it met the criteria that we needed to have. So we ended up, for ease of purposes and adoption, using what we call this burner factory wallet. And that website I have there is literally something you could copy and paste and put in a browser, and our wallet would pop up. It's that easy. On the left side, there's some information about our token. There's a kind of a cookie cutter process you can go through on GitHub and the burner factory to kind of create a token. These are Ethereum compatible. The addresses are the same as Ethereum, but you're just on this XDAI network. You can bridge tokens, go back and forth from this network to the Ethereum network. It's what they kind of refer to as a layer 2 solution. So we have our token address there that was created, a smart contract, and then some other information about our token. After creating the token, through this process, we were also able to create wallets. So I created some wallets, and basically I was able to pre-seed them or airdrop our token to those wallets. And the service I used for that was this token multi-sender. It's a platform that on different blockchains, you can put in 500 or 1,000 addresses, and you're able to drop a token into those addresses. So that's what I did to pre-populate some some wallets with our token. Just to go back and show you yesterday on the Ethereum network, I was just wanted to illustrate to send one of these tokens. It's called a pool token, which I think has maybe a $10 US value. In order to send one of these things, you send the token, and then the gas fee is the transaction fee, which is priced in Ethereum. $65.52 yesterday to send a $10 token from one address to the next. As you can see, that's just a non-starter. You can't really get very far doing that. And because of the nature of the XDAI and the wallet, and I took this from a Medium post after an event where they use this wallet to kind of get people to buy food from a food truck. It's low overhead, it's easy to understand, and the idea of having a dollar coin, and we can see here yesterday, if I wanted to send one of our tokens on the XDAI network, remember the XDAI is $1, it's costing less than a penny. So we can get hundreds and hundreds of transactions at a fraction of the cost by using this network. So that's the reason why we decided to use the XDAI network. When we started this over the summer and even last spring, these layer 2 solutions were just coming up on Ethereum, and there's changes, monthly and daily with these things. And as we'll see, we actually employ another solution as well. So the idea was to have this wallet that could be on their mobile device, or they could use it on a desktop, and that it would be hopefully easy to use. So what I have here is I've got a little video here. On the left side, I've got, I think, like a Firefox browser. On the right side, I've got maybe Safari or something else. The point is, I just wanted to show kind of how easy, and this is real time with transactions, how it works. And so the wallet on the left is going to be the sender. The wallet on the right is going to be the receiver. And I'll just set this to play. So we click the receive address. That's copied and pasted. This can be a QR code if two people are interacting with one another. We just go, again, this is in a browser, put in the number of tokens that we wanted to send, and then we send them. And that happens on this particular transaction. I timed it, took about 20 seconds. But we had transaction times in the real world doing this that were almost instantaneous. Sometimes they took a little bit longer. But we can see here, after waiting 20 seconds, the 10,000 tokens showed up in the other browser wallet. And the other thing we'll notice, compared to the previous slide, is that when sending this particular transaction, it wasn't like we had to send the token and also a transaction fee with it, or the students wouldn't have to do that with our token. I was doing that on the back end. So on the back end, behind the scenes here, I funded enough XDAI to kind of do the transactions. So the students didn't have to worry about any of that. Again, this all had to do with, ease of use and getting the students able to use the tokens. Another way that this can be done, if you're doing an event, like I said, you can pre-populate wallets with your token. And I did that. And then through that GitHub and the creation of the token on this, using this particular burner factory iteration, you're able to you can hand out tokens via a QR code. So this is on my cell phone. There's nothing in the wallet. You press your QR code reader. Apologize for the mess in the background. There was a QR code that was kind of printed on a ticket, and then we can give the students the tokens, and it's just that easy to do, or it was that easy eventually when we got there for us to do. The burner wallet was awesome. It's awesome for one-off events. You can get into it. There is a seed phrase you can find on there, and you can import your tokens into another wallet. But the idea here was kind of ease of use. So the QR code and the link worked out pretty well. They didn't have to worry about the users. The students didn't have to worry about including transaction costs in sending their particular token. And again, this is good for one-off events. The cons obviously are, if you can set these wallets up and actually fund them with the XDAI token, which are worth $1. Obviously, you've got information stored in your browser, on your device, or on your desktop. If there's an update like there was to the Safari that I experienced, your cache in your phone resets, and then if you don't have your seed phrase, you can't get your tokens back. If you lose your phone, if you have it on your phone, you would lose access to your crypto. So this would be like used for cash. You wouldn't store a whole lot of value here. And it was kind of a stepping stone maybe to a longer term solution. So we held these events, and we were able to have students show up and take our survey, and then sort of exchange their tokens for various things. We've got a Chick-fil-A here. I was able to kind of put grant money on my XU card, and then kids would give me tokens, and I could do stuff like buy them lunch. And then we've got a token here, which was a physical token that we had created to kind of represent our digital token that was part of our giveaways too. We had all kinds of stuff that we created. We had hats and different things. So this is kind of one of our events. What you can see in the back there, you can't see, there's an easel set up with the QR codes. The kids are taking the survey, they're getting tokens, and then they're exchanging with our student worker here, our ambassador on the left. And then they're spinning that wheel, and that's how we're kind of getting tokens. Some of the interesting conversations that come out when doing these things is, how many tokens in like Monopoly money is a Chick-fil-A lunch worth? I can tell you the average ticket was about $8 in US dollars, but what is that in unicorn money? And that's kind of a topic for, I guess, for a later discussion. The XDAI network has it's a blockchain, so you can go look at transactions and different, how wallets moved and different things of that nature. Here's kind of a summary from our contract with our token. There's 409 addresses. There were 500 transfers. Basically, we're giving out addresses and doing some transfers to get prizes into the students' hands. Well, if one of those prizes happens to be cryptocurrency, the burner wallet doesn't work for us. So initially, I set up this whole explanation on how to use MetaMask, which, you sign up for MetaMask, you have to do a 12-word recovery phrase. You need to write that down. After kind of doing all of that, for our particular token, you'd have to input the network, the XDAI network. You'd have to import the contract address. And then finally, it would show up in MetaMask. And this was kind of the route we were going to go. But in writing that documentation up and trying to have everybody maintain their interest and their focus, this is sort of cumbersome. And at the end of the day, during all of this, the Coinbase wallet began to accept the XDAI network. So things became a whole lot easier from that standpoint. Ask the students to download the Coinbase wallet. Go to the settings, which is on the left panel here, and click on default network. When you click on default network, you have an option there. XDAI is one of the options, and then we don't have to import anything, type anything in. The token can just show up. So this was radically different from how we started. And the reason this is important is when kids won crypto or we gave them crypto, I wanted to send them US dollar coin. And I wanted to do it on a network that had lower fees. So the network I chose was the Polygon network to actually send them crypto. So I sent them this short email saying, go to Coinbase, download the wallet, and go to settings and choose Polygon and send me your address. And I sent a little video for them to watch. It was 27 seconds if they needed help. And lo and behold, they were just able to email me their addresses, and we went from there. And we can see here on the right side, POS, that just means the USD coin is on the Polygon network. What can they do? They can go to quick swap on Polygon and exchange that for other tokens, or they can even go to OpenSea. The last part here, and I'm trying to wrap up, is we had our survey. Some of the interesting, it was mostly students, mostly business students and kids from biology and applied sciences, although we had a lot of others participate. Cash was the preferred prize, but we see here, 50 to 70% of our students are using these apps that are offering to buy and sell cryptocurrency. When asked if they would buy cryptocurrency, if we add the green and the orange together, the probably will and the definitely will, we've got 65% of our participants indicated that they were willing to buy cryptocurrency. I asked them, why they participate. We see here that investment purposes is number one. You don't often find that amongst students and young people. I also teach personal finance. And then we sort of asked about awareness of different cryptos. Obviously, Bitcoin was number one, followed by, in this case, Dogecoin at number two. And then, I asked about sort of their general knowledge of some things with Bitcoin. And most people knew about Satoshi, I think maybe 60% almost. A lot of people think it's used, 17% think it's used for just illicit activity. And then I asked about the appropriateness for retirement savings, and we've got 43.2%. So this is vastly different in personal finance terms from what you see with older investors and people. Finally, we have here that 67.5, or actually 84% of our participants said that they would consider getting cryptocurrency as part of their pay.